You're not an animal. Okay. You know what you should be doing.
Our ability to even have foresight, to have future planning capabilities is uniquely human.
Have you ever been victimized by new age spirituality?
We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting.
You're gonna want to listen up.
I'm Megan, an intuitive life coach and Reiki master.
I'm Ryan, a professional astrologer, and we want to show you what spirituality is by talking about what it is not.
Con artist.
Yes.
Snake oil salesman.
There are so many susceptible people out there.
And then they're tainted. They're ruined. They don't want to come back to spirituality.
We still have a lot to learn, and we will humble ourselves and learn, I think, every freaking day. This is Clairannoyance,
a podcast of spiritual interference. Episode 59, Spiritual Stewardship, the duty to future generations.
We are at episode 59, by the way. What?
I know.
On one hand, I'm like, that's so many. Like, we've had 59 fucking just whatever we're doing.
Bangers, son.
Bangers. Chart toppers. For sure. I know.
Yeah, I know, that's like a big number.
It is. We're about to hit 60. That's 2 Saturn returns that we're in right now. Is we're going with age. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, but we talk so much. How is it not 600 that we're about to hit? You know what I mean?
I know.
On one end, it's also like, wait, that's it? But it is like, wait, we've come up with that many fucking things to talk about. It's crazy. Thank you, listeners.
Yes, and we'll hit 600 in no time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you want to see this card? So it's one of my friend's birthdays coming up soon. And I found this card, and I'm going to say this because he's sure as shit not listening. But I love this. I'm just saying this because it's right in front of me. I just love this. So I can like show it to you, although I don't know if the words are going to be backwards. Basically, listeners, it says, on the day you were born, the stars perfectly aligned. And it's a photo of like a constellation in the night sky that says cunt. It looks all like nice, and then you're like, oh, okay, cunt. All right, love that. I know it is perfect. Anyway, so we have a deep dive topic, but it's kind of a funny one. I'm drowning in notes. I will say I got a good ass reference list. So if you're interested in learning more, I've got like a fuck ton of resources that I will link.
I was about to say, you are a researching son of a gun. Ain't nobody do it like you, boo.
Thank you.
Prepared. Yeah, and this was like at 6 o'clock in the morning, my time, 3 a.m. your time. You're like, hey, we're going to do a deep dive. So I'm just once again out here free balling. I love it. I love a good free ball.
Yeah, she's free balling, but she's got like an extensive outline in front of her, like good notes to talk about. And it's not like in totally foreign topic either. Like a lot of this is, I mean, actually, I think a decent amount of this stuff is stuff like naturally will kind of traverse in and out of. I'm just packaging it in a really big way.
I know. Have you seen the reviews lately on Apple? Because they've really been praising you. Thank you, people on Apple podcasts, because they've been like, Ryan is just a magical wizard man of epic proportions and love and light.
I mean, I saw one. So thank you to the person who did that. I think that was like literally after we were complaining about the person who like review bombed us. Anyway, so we are talking spiritual stewardship, the duty to future generations. Okay, so my reason for this is a couple things, sort of. I had mentioned this, I forget what episode, but like a much earlier episode, I had just briefly like mentioned that I had saw some book, like an article for a book, and I started like reading like the free excerpt of it online. It was really interesting. It was all about basically how we are a short-term focused culture. Like, it sounds so basic. A lot of this might sound basic on the surface, but it never is. It goes so much deeper, you guys. It was just put in such good words. It was like we kind of like are suffering from short-termism, and we need to move into long-term thinking, which is really interesting because, I mean, it's like, yeah, duh, we instant gratification, technology, access to everything, everywhere, all the time, you know, duh. Yeah, sure. But it's like, really understanding the implications of that, like what that means. And it's like funny because I feel like it's a little bit of like an antithesis to the spiritual community where we're all about the power of now, stay in the present moment, focus on what you can control that's immediately in front of you, you know? And I understand, and this is all true, but it's like we can do multiple things at once. The choices you make at day in and day out can also have like the foresight of future planning. Do you know what I mean? Like, will this benefit me not just now in the immediate moment, but will this also set me up for success later? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and not only you, but also everyone.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where we're going with this. So then I saw this book review that was really along these lines, but sort of different. The book is called, I will just real quick. Any resource I mention, and honestly, resources that I'm not even going to mention are below, so check them out. But the book,
this man said he had 42 pages of notes.
I literally have 42 pages of notes. I'm not even joking. 42. Well, it's funny because like some of them were like things I amassed from other notes I had on like random topics. Anyway, so I saw this review for this book called The Ethics of the Climate Crisis by Robin Atfield. Anyway, the review was really interesting and brought up some like cool topics, basically saying like do we in our current day and age, our short-term generation right now, have any obligations to future populations?
Yes, duh.
Well, I know, but it seems like duh, but it's also funny because like,
and if you don't think that, you need to get right with yourself because it's not just about you, people. Jeez.
Right. But then, like, I don't know. But when you really unravel this, it gets really interesting to consider. So it's not even just like a big ethical question that they pose that people like have touched on before, but this book like went in on it. Was okay. Do you like we have obligations to future generations? Okay, but why? Like, do future generations have rights? Like, they're not here. Do they have, what rights do they have? You know, so there's this actual like moral, ethical, even legal issue.
Do they have right? I mean, I understand that, but that phrase right there, scapegoats, personal responsibility for it, because it's like they're not here. Well, you know what? At one point, we weren't here, and what if our great grandparents? No, you assholes. Like that's a way to scapegoat and to take out responsibility. We absolutely have an obligation to future generations. And I don't even have kids, but like my stepdaughter, she's gonna have little babies, and I want my little grandbabies. I'm gonna be the coolest grandma, for the record. Believe that. But I'm not leaving this land a mess for my future little grandbabies. Kick rocks, dicks. No.
I know. I feel you. I mean, like, yeah, like I think most people and most like religious systems, like cultures, etc., definitely have this thought process. But it's like, okay, well, if future generations have rights, are we effectively breaking our obligations to them right now? Are we fucking them over? Like, and in what ways? Like, obviously we are fucking them over, right? Climate crisis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much to this. So
if we take away women's rights at the course that the Republican Party would like, and I'm not trying to get political, but we're absolute yes.
Yeah. Well, but then it's also like, because there's weird fucking gray areas in all of this. And that's like, honestly, such a like spiritual conundrum anyways, like the gray areas of like how far do we go in certain things? What's our duty? So truthfully, if you look at it like from just the most logical, practical end, it's like, no, they don't have rights. They literally aren't here. So, but we have moral duty to it, right? But then it's like when we're inflicting morals on other people who aren't even alive, what does that mean for like our dogmatic fucking moral stances in any belief system, any whatever context that we want to inflict on others? Like, when does that stop?
Like, I people have too much to go to take that stance is that you have too much time on your hands and you need to go pick up some trash on the side of the road on the highway. That's what you need to do because what?
Well, okay, so it really does get like complicated.
I'm already pissed. I'm already pissed at these unethical, because it's no. And I get it. Yeah, they're not here yet. But like, you want to leave places better than when you found them. Like that's just how I operate.
I know, but that's like a personal choice. You know what I mean?
And it's not only is it a personal choice, it's the right choice. If you're listening to this, you clearly have good taste and you're a good person. So, dear listeners, I hope you're doing the right thing.
No, I know. I agree. Like, look, I agree. But it's just like, I don't know. It brings up some really interesting questions, and we're going to get into a lot of them. Basically, this book, though, did come to the conclusion that future generations do have rights, but in the sense of not in like our rights, but their rights are basically the most fundamental basic needs. Like as a future generation is born, they got the human and like humane right to water, air, a habitable place to live, right? So those are just like fundamental things. And then in our current era and lifetime, it's like we use things like policy, politics, social movements, etc., is our way in contemporary society to ensure that those most essential, fundamental things are available for future generations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like they can't engage with politics right now. We can. And our baseline version of engaging with politics should be to ensure not just our comfort and safety in the current moment and our ability to breathe air, but also theirs, right? So we need to align in those ways. But it gets like really complicated when you start to like see some of this stuff, because this book also goes into one really interesting thing. Property rights. Sounds bizarre, I know, but it has a whole chapter that's about if there's no good property left. For example, very high likelihood that in the near-ish future, people, and there's a lot of them, people who live on Pacific Island nations will be underwater. What do they do? Wow. What do we do? Are we thinking that far in advance right now of how we're going to fucking take care of all these people who it's not their fault? We can stop or slow down climate change to like stop the rising sea levels, but like, what do we do? They have rights to live. Where are we putting people?
Well, I think that so for instance, like Guam is a United States territory. Obviously, they would come here. I think whoever owns French Polynesia and, Tahiti and Fiji, that would be the logical move. And that's devastating. Terrible.
But there are island nations that are kind of Hawaii. Like on their own.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But it's just like when they don't have, like, they'll have a right to sovereignty, but like, what do we do? We don't have any good or clean solutions to address like just that basic issue of property. And these people are just born in these islands, raised in these islands, and these islands will be uninhabitable in the
there's
future.
that one island that doesn't have any sort of modern people anywhere near it, and that Christian missionary fellow went there and he got killed. Yeah. Like so that I mean, could you even get there? Because they would probably you'd have to tranquilize them, and then that would be so. What's more inhumane at that point, to let them drown, or shoot them with a tranquilizer gun and put them in a little colony? I mean, now that I can see that being a problem.
I forget what island that is exactly, but like that is like the only one. I think it's like one of like a couple maybe where it's like totally isolated. Nobody's allowed to go. I think in that instance, like they wouldn't want intervention if they're getting flooded. I was
going to say, you kind of just have to let them like.
Yeah. But other ones that are like connected, you know what I mean? It's like, what do we do? So, I mean, there's just like big issues like that we're really not thinking about right now. And like it really will become a huge issue. Yeah. There's like a lot of things there. So anyway, that's like a little, I mean, like it's not even like really previewing this. It's just like some random little side tangent on this basically. But like the point being is like, what is our duty to future generations? Like, truly, what is the scope of that? And in a spiritual perspective, like, what does it mean to like not just live a spiritual, because spirituality right now, especially new age spirituality, is so self-focused. It is all about like self-love, self-healing, self, and people are spiritual bypassing and shit. Like, how do we take a different perspective that is way more it accounts much more for a lot of other people? That is what stewardship is. Okay. So, and I guess like to define spiritual stewardship, it's different from like just traditional stewardship. Like when we think of stewards, we think of like stewards of the land, which is like good agricultural and environmental practices or good like economic practices. But spiritual stewardship would incorporate more of like morality. It incorporates like a respect for culture, and it even will contemplate existential issues, So it's all about like the soul of humanity and viewing the planet and like even beyond the planet as a grand, scheme that we're all part of. And it takes these things into account when making like policy decisions, for example. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It does.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that a lot of people should be making these decisions because
I know, but people need to. Who's going to do it? Which I'll get to also. Like, who are these people that then should be making some of these decisions? But there's things everybody could do right now, right? Like better environmental practices, etc. And it's important because we are currently facing a lot of these challenges that are our future challenges also. Environmental problems, social inequalities, tech advancements, even like just the challenges that like something like AI brings. We need to think long term about that. Wars. I mean, these have always been a thing, but I'm also saying that because when you look at one of the books that I'll link below is about the collapse of societies, rises and falls of societies, and a lot of the falls were, multi-pronged reasons, but for reasons that we are dealing with right now. So it's like, if we want society to be resilient and like future proof, we need to actually like look at this stuff and not just in the immediate moment of like, yeah, I'll recycle that today. And but like, what are we doing with like the recycling industry, for example?
Which is garbage, pun intended.
I know.
I was just thinking about, when you go to like a restaurant or you go throw something away and it's like they have the recyclable side and then the trash, but then you like open up that flap and it's just a trash bin and it's just an optical damn illusion. Those people don't need to be in charge.
I know. We got some things to deal with here. Just like, and I think especially as like, we have listeners of all ages. Thank you. And listeners from around the world. Thank you. But I think as like younger generations start coming into power and become more and more like of a decision maker in society, we can influence things, a little bit more. So like, it's important to be really thinking about these topics. Okay. So like before going into some other things, like let's look at the defining boundaries of spiritual stewardship, because boundaries are healthy, boundaries are good for everybody, right? So we already addressed like, do future generations have rights? Like, yeah, they've got like at minimum the most basic rights, right? Yeah. But like looking at boundaries, I think like a big thing that I was thinking about is like avoiding that missionary mindset. Like I think so much of this can easily go into that territory where you think of like Christian missionaries and the destruction they caused, even though they had like moral.
They truly had the best intent, but then the execution.
Yeah. There was cultural destruction, environmental destruction, their dogma and the forced conversations they would have, like the ideological rifts, like they didn't believe that though. So that's why I'm like, some of this stuff really does go into weird areas. Like at what point are we enforcing something that we should respect people who don't believe the same thing or have the same moral stance? You know what I mean? Some of it really does get iffy.
I gotta tell you, I'm not respecting. If you're a shitbag, I'm not respecting it. I don't care. Like So, like, sorry if that makes me a hypocrite, but if you're a shitbag, I'm not respecting you, your policies. I mean, like, and I don't think you should have even a leg to stand on because you're all about you, so.
I know, but we're like, I know, and I love you, and I feel like this is like common sense for a lot of people, right? But like we know common sense isn't common, to use your line. Like dead serious. So I mean, like you're saying if you're a shitbag, but like what is a shitbag? What does that fucking mean? Like literally, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, like I'm just trying to encourage this topic and people thinking deeply about the many facets of this topic. Just like as you're moving through your life, like just start shifting from short-termism mindset to long-termism mindsets. Like just thinking about it even is a huge step. We go through the motions of so many things day to day without ever contemplating like, what's this going to be like 200 years from now or whatever, right? So avoid the Christian missionary mindset, I think is important in general. Just because we can learn from the past and we've seen the very serious downsides of like missionaries. Okay, there are many categories of spiritual stewardship. I don't need to like list every freaking thing out, but like environmental, moral and ethical, culture and knowledge based, right? Like, and by stewardship, right, it's like we're taking care of these things because with the future in mind, because so there's this passing on elements like knowledge, right? Like there's knowledge that we want to pass on, skills, political paradigms, right? Like legal issues, like health and well-being is a category that like. And I did like this is not like I did not find this in an article. I like distilled these down from like all the research I did. I'm like these are the categories I can like contemplate. Health and well-being, though, even in the sense of like how can we currently create better health systems, access to health care, so that people in the future aren't being born just to die from something, right? Like, so there's so many things in this.
There are a lot of nuances.
Yeah. And then scope of influence, like, wait, to what extent? Like, who do I care about? Because I think it's so natural for anybody, especially if you have kids, to think, well, of course, I'm passing down my traditions. I'm passing down what I know about life to my children. Like, that's me being future forward. No, that is so present, short-termistic thinking. You need to think beyond the immediate family, first of all, and you need to think beyond your lifetime. People you will never meet is what we're actually talking about here. Meaning there's what little stake people will have in that. We already have a hard time taking care of each other right now. Like face to face, like, what do you mean I need to care about someone 300 years in the future? What?
Yeah.
And especially with spiritual stewardship, it goes beyond human life too. So there is the environmental stuff, but it's not even just environmental stuff. It's like the non-living like processes that we have that can be more spiritual and facilitate life better, right? So there's a lot to that even. Again, a lot of these resources that I'm going to link below are like will kind of take you in and out of like some of these things if you're interested in any of these more minutia topics. And then obviously practical applications and strategies. Like how do we deploy our spiritual stewardship policy, government, which is weird because the gray area of church and state. Like, what do you like? I'm not saying religious. I'm not saying Christianity needs to like be in this, but like how do we nurture like humanity, all of life really in our governance, education, right? As well. Like we need to be totally transforming how we educate the children, the future.
Like when you remember when you were like in fourth grade and you had your history book and they had like King Tut as a white dude who looked like Zach Morris with like bright white teeth. And it's like this motherfucker is not done look a damn thing like King Tut.
Totally, dude. And that, like, not even to go into a tangent, but like that just makes me think of like this like revelation so many people have had lately of like, do you know who makes the textbooks for schools? Like it's the same fucking rich white dudes who are running everything and they've got their hands in politics. And like it's like there's a lot of like non-spiritual.
Well, and that's how you had like how like Stalin was celebrated as like a nice guy in Russia, or the USSR until they were liberated. So yeah. free my ass. Nobody is. What an illusion.
I know. I know.
What
I
an
know.
illusion.
What an illusion. So this is not like new, but like I would say the problem with this especially is in like the modern Western world, like Americans, we're the issue. Like most developed, like really developed modern nations, I would say probably have this problem. But this is like well established in many cultures and belief systems. Example, my favorite one is the Iroquois. Native Americans, but like I think it was mostly abided by the Iroquois, is something called the seventh generation principle, which is that decisions that they make are to be made with the like understanding that what's the impact 7 generations from now. Like that's this future forward shit. You're not going to meet your kids, like or mine or anybody's, like that's
they have
how
such
far
a
out.
deep, like everything listed here too, for the most part, they have such a deep, all these religions, and Christianity is not in this that you're going through, but they all have a deep reverence for one another and for the land. And that is something that Christianity preaches, but does not like you're supposed to have reverence, but there's not the application.
Totally.
And so that's like the disconnect, because Christianity has gotten to a place of absolute self-serving. What's that huge dude like in Houston? Joel. I was going to say Joel Epstein. That's not his name. The pastor. He has he talks like this, and he's got the big bouffant hair with the purple like $10,000 suits, and he literally preaches in the Houston Astrodome. And then when I forget what hurricane came in 2017, he would not open it up. He would not open up his church.
Like,
to people.
Come on. That's like what kind of spiritual stewardship is that? Like literally, what disregard for human life? Yeah, that's insane to me. There is like, it does say Judeo-Christian and Islamic teachings. Like it says humans are like, they believe humans are entrusted by God to take care of the earth and the resources responsibly, right? There's so many others. I literally had so many other examples in my notes of like different cultures and religions and even secular perspectives on this. It's pervasive. People definitely have that thought at least of like, we should be thinking into the future, right? From a spiritual perspective, we love to emphasize this idea of prophecy. So I wanted to discuss like this idea of prophecy versus planning, which I think is kind of like interesting and controversial a little bit, where prophecy is actually very respected. Again, many cultures throughout history have really taken prophecy seriously. And so like they'd make really big decisions, like even they'd conduct wars based on prophecies, political decisions based on prophecies. We still like freak out when a prophecy somebody made however long ago comes true now, right? Like when the Simpsons make a fucking prophecy, we freak the fuck out, Oh, yeah. So we really like value this idea of
Nostradamus.
prophecy. Yeah. And then it goes into weird like divine intervention stuff. And that's where like I think New Age spirituality can have a serious problem, because we're putting a lot of things into like divine timing. It's God's will, blah, 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 blah. Like
that's like when there's a horrible like flood or a fire that like kills people and takes everyone out. And then there's a Bible that's was saved and it's on top of a bookshelf. And they're like, see, look. And it's like, everyone died in this fire. Like what? No, like don't do that. Don't give this such reverence, because I gotta tell you, my God would burn that book and save the people. Okay, they wouldn't burn the people and then be like, oh look, I saved this nice book that is in mass publication everywhere.
No, that's like totally a serious issue. I actually have something like along those lines for a different podcast episode. So I didn't like go super into this. But yeah, like that's huge. And there's prophecies in the Bible, like this is like Christian shit too. But also New Age, like it's like every time we're on fucking TikTok, we see something new about some fucking comet that might hit Earth, or like the next doomsday, or the coming of the next fucking Messiah and whatever. Like all these things are so future focused, but but I'm not controlling it. That's something beyond me. I can't do anything about that. It'll happen. It's just going to happen how it needs to. So that's where it's prophecy versus planning, because planning was a little more like, well, you can do this, like, so fine, believe in a fucking prophecy if you want, but like
laziness. It's being able to bypass responsibility. What a soul boner killer. Gross.
Exactly. So like I think it's like, this idea of prophecy and divine timing and blah 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 can really detract from your autonomy and like what you can personally fucking do in this world on your own. Like whatever, maybe God's helping you, whatever, but you can do something right here, right now. For the present moment or for the future, I don't really care, but that's planning, right? And we like have seriously lost a lot of planning, even in the sense of like some of the stuff I was reading is like, corporate companies or whatever will really focus on like their 5-year strategic plan. It's like, that's only fucking 5 years though. Like, what are we talking about? I mean, then you think about like business cycles, and many, business cycles only last like fucking 20 years or whatever. So like, it almost doesn't seem practical to think too far, but it's more like, it's not about like, okay, 5 years from now, here's like what we want to be making in revenue, or like we want to be a company that goes public at this point. Cool. The long term plan that we're talking about is more like, okay, but how are you going to reach that 5-year goal? And are those processes sustainable, or are you fucking over everybody in the meantime and thus fucking over future generations, So you can really be thinking in a much longer term perspective here. There's this really good concept that I think is a very spiritual topic related into this, and like this is where like spiritual stewardship can come in handy. Is this idea of deep time and like having a cosmic perspective, which is like something like an atheist or an agnostic person is not typically going to be relating to. They might contemplate space, and feel very small in the face of like something so infinite and vast, but they're not like tapping into the like totality of like what that can actually bring. And this is actually cool. Like, so the idea of deep time, and that's again what we're kind of looking at. I mean, this is way further than actually the scale I'm talking about. Deep time is just like, okay, the earth was formed and all these things have happened since billions of years. Like what has changed?
Dinosaurs, woolly mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, cavemen. Yeah,
like thinking of the Big Bang and all this like stuff, right, is crazy, and it brings a really humbling perspective to you because it makes you feel so small in everything, and not in a bad way. It's like
no, you are a speck of dust. That's the thing. You're nothing and you're everything, and I think people need to realize that they're nothing first and foremost, and then you can realize that you're everything. But it's got people like negated the nothing and everything, and
yes. And this idea of like being nothing actually acts as a motivator. I have this like kind of like as a talking point in a different section, but it's kind of like, I don't want to just be forgotten. Like, so it can actually really motivate you. Having that very crazy experience of feeling so insignificant can actually make you be like, I want to do something big.
What's so crazy is this morning I was on the treadmill and I saw this guy that looked like a friend of mine who had just overdosed a few months ago. And I was so sad when Ryan overdosed, and I had not even thought about Ryan in the past few days. And I was like, oh my fuck, like it just like it's a continual blast in the face how much effort we put into like satisfying others and not living ourselves, when like I loved Ryan. I have not thought about him one bit. And it's just like so yeah, like I want to leave a mark. I want to leave a mark on civilization. I want to leave a positive mark. But the reality is that most people aren't going to. And it's just like a wild concept. Like, do you give a shit, listeners?
Right. But it's also like kind of nice, even if you're like, wow, like I'm never going to make a mark, right? Because most people don't. That same experience, though, of feeling so little or insignificant can then also at least make your failures seem insignificant too. So you can move past a lot of the shit that gets you down. So you won't
hate yourself as much. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, which also these experiences create an interconnectedness because you start to see other people who have a huge impact in your life. You're like, they feel just as small as I do, probably. And so we start to develop like that empathy or like shared experience for all life forms, which helps us it's literally the definition of new age spirituality, like consciousness expanding there of like, I am so little, so are you. You're so big in my life though. Like, and this weird dichotomy or juxtaposition, and you just feel connected to everything all of a sudden, big or small, it doesn't fucking matter, which opens you up to start really thinking about the long-term impact of your life and also like the future generations that are going to come next, right? There's like one theory here that I won't get super into really, but like part of this too on a spiritual end, I'd say, is this idea of ecocentric versus biocentric, where biocentric pretty much is like a perspective that says, humans or life, living things, especially humans, especially, are like upper echelon, that's it. Ecocentric is like all of living things, all things that even facilitate life fucking matter in this, like including planet Earth, right? Biocentric's going to say whatever's best for humans. Humans need to take care of each other first and foremost, but ecocentric opens this up way more. And there are a lot of people who are biocentric. They don't, right? Like there's people who don't believe in global warming. Like, I'm sorry, it is, as of recording, this is the hottest day on record for LA this year. It's gonna be 104 today.
Beyond annoying is I actually know people who do not believe in global warming, who they're just like, this is just how Earth is. Yes, Earth does do some flipperooskies from time to time, but yeah, science is real. These are people who also probably don't believe that dinosaurs were real. There's also a thin line then between, I've noticed that, and then like I can kind of get down with maybe not the moon not happening, not landing on the moon. I could see how I could see how that could go. I could see, but they meet together right here. And this is what you get when South Carolina is last in education.
Oh no. Wait, I thought that was like Oklahoma or something. I can't remember.
It's Mississippi, but we're always in the bottom of the barrel because they're like, you know what, we need to protect every other goddamn right, but we do not need our citizens intelligent.
There's like, some of these things have honestly been really triggering for me to be like learning about, because I'm like, there are like some of the most important people in my life have these narrow perspectives. I don't know that I know anyone who's like, or I'm sure I do, but not like in my close circle who don't believe in global warming that I know of. But I definitely have some people in my close circle who would like combat me on some of the things that we're talking about here for sure.
It's not even worth it. It's not. I used to try and have I'm like, surely we can have a rational discussion about this where I'm going to bring up some bullet points on my phone, and then they bring up like Breitbart News or something. I'm like, no. See, I'm not on CNN. This is like science website. This is a peer-reviewed study, and they're like, nope, not doing that. So I can guarantee you that I unfortunately know a lot of people who would not give two flying fucks about spiritual stewardship.
I know, no, for sure. Or just fucking general stewardship, man. Like people are so self-focused. We have a hyper individualistic society right now. Like we really push that.
Yeah.
It's like causing a lot of problems here. Truly, I'm like trying not to get too tangential. I've got like literal notes on just that, like our hyper individuated society that we now live in and what that's doing.
We need people.
Yeah, I'm gonna like kind of jump one thing because it actually like I feel like makes a lot of sense with this deep time and cosmic perspective and thinking bigger. That idea, and we already brought it up, like of legacy and immortality. Very interesting stuff here because legacy is like leaving your mark or a memory in this world in a way that persists beyond your lifetime. Thinking in a cosmic perspective can definitely make you want to do that, right? Not even if you don't think that way. Even if you're just thinking in this lifetime, you could just want to make something of yourself in this here life, and that's fucking it.
Yeah.
Whatever. And there's many ways to do this, right? Like people have buildings erected in their name, or like artwork, children, values, teachings, reputation, whatever. Lots of ways to have like legacy or experience some level of immortality in that sense. Spiritual immortality, which we referenced here a little bit, is like that thought of like the afterlife or reincarnation or karma. this is funny to me because the belief in reincarnation, many people believe, first of all, but like this is like a double-edged sword because on one end, I don't even know if that's the right phrase, double-edged sword, because it makes it feel like it's bad no matter what. I think there's a good and a bad. Like a good of the belief in reincarnation is you're now thinking immediately into the future. You're definitely thinking lifetimes in advance, right? So it can put you in that perspective to want to do good. But a belief in reincarnation, which I think is like, this is such an interesting point to me, can really actually be super self-centered. Do not tell Michelle Brock I said this, everybody. I love her. She's our past life expert. Love her to death. But I'm like, actually want to talk to her about this. Because it is very selfish to be like, okay, so I'm yeah, and so I'm doing good in this life, and I'm gonna rake up good karma in this life because I want a fucking good life in the next life. It's not about anybody else. Then it's just about you.
You know what
at that
though?
point.
You know what though? To be the I'm okay with that though, because here's the thing that because I don't okay if that's your reasoning because you want to have good karma and you're doing good in this lifetime, then so be it, you little selfish bitch. I don't care.
Well,
I don't care. You're because you're doing good here right now, and however we got to get there, you know, because some people aren't gonna be able to get there, you know. So those you know like are
it's better than nothing.
correct. You know, like
better than nothing, but it's still limiting your
I'm sure
potential.
I'm like highly hypocritical as I come like in how
I think everybody is. If we're really honest, I think a lot of this stuff is stuff where we're like, I preach that. Do I do that? You know, like I really think if people are being honest with themselves about a lot of this stuff, it's like I definitely am not thinking like big
I'm
enough.
trying to make people's lives better like right now, but like
for sure.
And you know, like, and I'm also trying to, but to be honest, have I had thoughts, you know, like I'm trying to do things right now, and they're good things that will help future people, but I haven't had any sort of thought about, you know, I'm just hoping that the earth is alive for my, you know, for my future grandkids.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I just think, like, you know, if you're trying to do this, like, because you want a good life in the next life, so you're trying to rake up good karma, then I just think
keep doing it.
Keep doing it, but like also getting real with yourself, which is kind of like one of the tenets here of like spiritual stewardship, like have the reflection of why am I doing the things I'm doing, of like, if you just are trying to get good karma, I don't know that that's how it's going to work for you. Yeah. I think it's like good karma is going to come. And it's like, I think a pretty universal understanding of karma here is like, it just is about the goodness for other people. It just is about what I'm putting out there, not because it's self-centered, because I want those bonus points. You know, it's because it's just the good thing to do and you're other focused rather than self-focused. So I think that's kind of like a interesting thing here. I think one way of that spiritual stewardship plays into this though is like we really underestimate the power of symbols and myths, which I could go into like I would love a whole thing on symbology, sacred symbology or whatever. But symbols like carry such a transgenerational power for us, like the Christian cross, like it's so pervasive. It's so a future generation will see a fuck ton of crosses on planet Earth and be like, that meant something to people, you know, like what was this? What were the values of that Christian cross? You know, there's so many symbols in life, but same thing is like then the oral tradition of like a myth, storytelling, like these things have been passed down or written word even, right? Passed on. And it's like you're trying to cement this myth specifically like an archetype, like this is a way humans lived. This like a god isn't just like some personified like person that had a random story. It's a personified human experience to learn from, to strive for, to avoid, or whatever. But like these stories carry this much more transcendental experience that all sorts of humans can relate to. So like keeping myth alive is really big, and having symbols that genuinely fucking mean something is big. And it establishes like common language, shared experience, and it promotes this idea of unification, having like those things like everybody can proudly wear their I voted badge, right? Like that sort of thing. These matter. Like it just we can't underestimate symbols. It's a logo. It's a fucking thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a logo.
No, I mean, it's from a branding perspective. It's like that. Like the cross is a Christian logo. Like that's what it.
Good. Yeah, did good. Yeah.
You had a fucking road. But it's like symbols can speak. It's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's that sort of thing. So being careful about like the symbols like that you've got as well, like being intentional about that sort of stuff. It's like when I don't know if anybody here has ever been in branding or marketing or whatever, but like when you're developing a brand and like literally if you're sitting in like a logo creation session, it is intense. The like theories and like color theories, the like way they want a line curved versus like straight or perpendicular or something, like there's so much meaning to it all, and the feelings that it just will elicit subconsciously in someone is wild. Like, so really thinking about that stuff can matter as far as symbols go. Again, I think there's like the learning from past civilizations thing, like Roman Empire, Mayan Empire. There's many things that went into that: poor governance, social inequality, environmental harm. But these issues are still so relevant right now. That's also why we want to be thinking into the future. Like, are the ways that we're dealing with these things shitty right now? Because it will cause the collapse of our society, because this has happened over and over and over in the past, and there are many examples though also of societies or cultures, civilizations that have adapted when these challenges have occurred, and they've created more resilient communities. So like, how can we do that? How can we be more community focused? Like literally fostering the idea of community in general is something that gets societies moving forward, moving away from the individualistic perspective. How can we foster community? And that sounds so fucking basic, and we talk about it all the time, but it's like, this is actually seriously important shit. Like,
it is. Well, especially like you said, in the hyper individual state that everybody is in. So it was even like, I was like, oh, like a urban community garden or
that's perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's literally perfect, because also a thing that gets societies to overcome these challenges that have bring down societies otherwise is an alignment with the natural world. It's they build community, but they have these like spiritual values to the community that, again, spiritual is not religious. Everybody just hammer that in. But like, there is this like greater than human value where they do what's good for the earth too, and that like built environment, the natural environment around them, that's how they are resilient and move past problems. I put astrological cycles here too, just because I kind of found that interesting. I don't want to go like super into the astrology of things, but I'm like, America had its Pluto return. We're like, America technically is facing like what a lot of empires that have crumbled faced in the past. It happens at a Pluto return. America's at the tail end of it right now, but that's like, that doesn't mean like, oh, we've survived it. It just means like, okay, the like basically the things that are, if we're going to crumble,
bombs have been dropped. Yeah. The moles have been infiltrated. Now we wait.
Yeah, like the crumbling is like just beginning, or the resilience is strengthening right now, right? Like truly, that could literally be the case.
I was about to say, we're pretty fucking scrappy. I mean, I know, America, it's okay to be disappointed, but we're pretty scrappy, and we will come together when needed, so I do have some faith.
Yeah, and a lot of countries actually, like I think Rome included, didn't fall until the second Pluto return, by the way. But it was at like these happen at a Pluto return. So
when would the second Pluto return of America be?
In another 250 years, 248.
Well, you know what? That would have been helpful information, TikTok, as everyone was out there fear mongering.
I know.
But once again, then that goes exactly into what we're talking about, because 230 years, I'm not going to be around. My grandbabies aren't going to be around. My great grandbabies aren't. Well, they may be. I don't know, depending on how, like how long people live, because you have like people like David St. Clair who are giving out like cheat codes to immortality at this point. So, but yeah, very interesting.
I know. Yeah. This is that like sort of like 7 generations thinking. Thank you, Iroquois people. And I think like I think one thing that for me, why I feel like emphatic about this, aside from the fact that like it does feel like there's so many imminent problems currently taking place that we need to like face, not just for ourselves, but also for the future, which is going to be like the difference between a band-aid fix and a full fucking surgical operation here. We can fix some shit right now for us. Or do we want to deal with this again 30 years from now? You know what I mean? Like we need, like, how can we develop these much more sustainable solutions? Like that's the long-termism thinking that we need.
It's going to be when everyone's affected. It's, like, here's the thing.
But we are
going to be, I know, but like truly, like for instance, all the people that I'm around right now in Charleston who don't believe in global warming, when your house gets, like swallowed up by the sea, then and insurance doesn't want to cover it anymore because what's happening in Florida. So that's that until people are directly affected.
Yeah.
That's that capitalism debate.
Exactly. Capitalism. Yes. Capitalistic societies tend to breed the short-termistic thinking.
Absolutely.
So this is a big part of it as well. And whatever. I think astrologically, I'm finding it interesting because, like I'll preach as much as I can. We're not in the age of Aquarius, like, because we're not. Yeah. But Pluto is, about to like be going through this 20-year transit. It kind of already started in Aquarius, which is kind of like really bringing in a lot of it. Pluto just retrograded back to age.
Yeah.
Ages were in Pisces still, but it's like this is what I'm saying. It's like a 200-year process of transitioning between ages. It's not as hard. It's different than like a planet moving into a sign. Yeah. But this is what is interesting. Like I will preach all the time. We're not in the age of Aquarius. Like shut up because it's factually incorrect. But if I'm going to use long-termistic thinking, I want to be thinking we're moving into the age of fucking Aquarius. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, it's fucking age of Aquarius. What is Aquarius? Community fucking building, social justice, equality, like, like it's all this shit of like, we are better together, rather than hierarchical. Like we're not in that space. So I think that's interesting. One thing that I think is like, okay, so I thought this was fucking fascinating. I think there's like a couple other examples of this, but fucking Wales has
country.
Yeah. Has a future generations commissioner. Literally, it's a political position that they have who ensures that policies and decisions are made with future generations in mind. So like sustainability, education, community development.
I don't think that's not surprising because I mean, granted, I was only in Ireland for a week, but there's some old ass fucking buildings over there, first off. So like you can't be around Trinity College and all these old buildings and then be like, nope. Not, like there's something about when you are around that sort of like history. And so and also Wales is trying to, I just saw a TikTok about this. I don't know the accuracy of it, but Wales, no one ever claims that they're Welsh, and so Wales is really trying to like be like, hey fuckers, we're here and we're a cool country and are advocating for themselves because, and I got to thinking about it, you're right. It's like, I'm British, I'm Irish, pardon me if I'm getting this wrong, I'm Scottish, but you don't really hear people claim Welsh heritage. Why is that? So Wales was like, well, not today. We're going to we're making ourselves proud, which I love. So you go, Wales.
Hell yeah, dude. I agree.
Yeah.
When I was a little choir boy, one of my favorite songs was called A Welsh Lullaby. Very, very pretty.
You want to sing it now?
No, I don't remember it, to be honest. I don't. Anyway, so I think like spiritually, I don't want to do gray area shit of like, separation of church and state for damn sure. But like spiritual stewardship here would be about championing things like this. We need a position like this. Say what you fucking want about Marianne Williamson. She wanted like a Department of Education, like where it's like, or a Department of Children. Sorry,
I like
that is future thinking. Like it's not as long distance future as like I'm talking about here. But come on, that is the most future forward. Like our government has gotten a Department of Children. Hello, we need that. We are behind. Other countries have that. Why don't we have a future generations commissioner? And not even just that, but like even expand that. Like right, like open your brains. How can we ensure that somebody in a social justice movement, like does Black Lives Matter, they have specific designated people in leadership, right? And these are often community appointed people. And to your point, not everybody fucking should be making these decisions, right? I don't want to make these decisions personally, but I want to support them. I want to champion them. I want to like advocate for them, spiritual advocacy here.
Yeah.
Like
I want people who are passionate about the job.
Yeah. So like, I don't know this. I'm just kind of insinuating. Does Black Lives Matter, that movement, have a future generations leadership position? Do movements, unions, like these groups that are behind something that's bigger than an individual, do they have someone appointed focused on the future?
I would assume unions do. I
don't think they do. I think that they're just like focused on like, here's our policy department, here's our marketing person, like somebody like a future generations commissioner is such a unique title, like I think if we had more positions like that, where it's like, my job is like, you guys figure out the policy, but I will be looking at the policy that you are deciding, and I will be looking at it purely through the lens of
have my
future generations.
Pen out, XX, check, fail.
Yeah, like in Black Lives Matter, it'd be like about like not just making sure that right now we're solving a lot of, problems facing the Black community, but like, is this going to help, right, 7 generations from now? Is this the Band-Aid solution, or are we doing a full surgical operation here? If we're gonna try and make these movements fucking happen, we need to fucking like actually seriously do it and make them sustainable. And I think just in general, like when you're making big decisions, if you're a decision maker in any organization or whatever, like how can you infuse your spiritual principles, which again is not religious. It's things like compassion, justice, interdependence. Like these are good. Yeah. If you're, co-running a group with someone and they prefer a much more hyper individualistic way of running things, that's hard because you're going to be in a more interdependent space. And now you got to decide, do I advocate more for me? Do I leave this organization? Is it not for me anymore? Do I start my own organization that's more of an independent voice or interdependent voice? There's a lot of stuff here, but like, how do you stick to those values or morals? Another just example of like a way that this is actually working. It's a long fucking time coming, but there's like global accountability here, where the term ecocide is being, and it has been considered as a new international crime. So this is cool because there's something called the Rome Statute, which basically is a treaty that created the International Crime Court. I'm shocked because I think this was only created in 1998. I'm like shocked we did not have this before. There are only 4 official crimes recognized here, which is genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and crime of aggression. Ecocide is being added, or really in talks to be added, because it's which is just described as the destruction of the environment by humans, and it's like knowingly doing so. So can we now?
So corporations are going to be absolutely fuckity fucked. So you can't, because the thing is that these you got fined $2 billion when your revenue is a zillion. That's a slap on the fucking face. You need to kick people in the fucking balls. So that's good.
And it really is. I know. And it's not only just good for now, right? Like, don't dump a fucking like ton of oil in the ocean and kill off that ecosystem or whatever, right? It's actually like I think ecocide became a really used term when the Vietnam War was happening and Agent Orange was a thing, and that was like a chemical herbicide and a defoliant that had a lot of major health issues. Like it would cause deformities in people who were exposed to it, but it would also cause deformities and major health problems in their children, right? So it's ecocide by like the genesis of that word comes from something that didn't just impact people in the here and now, it impacted the future generations. So this is like great that on an international fucking scale, International Crime Court to create a 5th fucking massive core international crime about ecocide, like huge. We need that, that's huge. Even in 2022, Pope Francis like made this huge statement about how we need to basically put this ecocide needs to be an actual thing. So like that's what I'm talking about. Like, if all you feel like you can fucking do, you feel so insignificant in the universe, all you can feel like you can do is like advocate for something like ecocide. Like, why aren't we all? That is huge. So go advocate for it in the notes below. I'm literally just gonna like list Eva name.
We need all sides of the story, and I don't know.
But it infringes on our rights. Like, corporations should be allowed to dump their bullshit in the ocean.
It's like, what was it? Like, white people, I forget, think that they have, like, you're making $35,000 a year, but you're like trying to protect the rights of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Like, you will ever get anywhere close when you're barely surviving yourself. The disconnect is.
I know.
We gotta protect these guys because they're gonna be my buddies. I'm gonna be right there on the table with them.
No, you're not.
I love where you're going.
That's how they sound. It's like, do you hear yourself? Like, do you hear yourself?
Yo, my buddy Elon and me, we're gonna
fuck off. Eat dick. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Oh my God. Okay, there's like one more little thing we'll just hit here really quick, which is this idea of, well, okay, so whatever, this doesn't really matter, but temporal discounting, it's just the psychological phenomenon that basically says people are like pretty much prone, like we're kind of hardwired to prioritize immediate rewards over future gains or wanting short-term benefits rather than focusing on our future well-being, period. So this is not easy. Like, we are rewiring individually ourselves, but also like collectively humanity in order to be better spiritual stewards for future generations, because it's our fucking duty to them. And I think like it's cool because why, like, spiritually, why should I care a little bit? It's like we really preach this shit, but we don't focus on it. Like, this I actually found really interesting. We always talk about like patience and mindfulness, right? But very rarely practice it. You know what I mean? Like, we're rarely giving ourselves the time and the space. Like, so I want to like just highlight some of these things here, like practices that are good for long-term thought to get you in this space. Like, you can actionably do this right now. And then practices that are more geared for short-term thought. I'm not saying the short-term stuff to be like, get rid of it, don't ever do it, but maybe replace some of it with long-term thought, maybe minimize some of the short-term stuff. If all you're doing is the short-term shit, fucking implement some of the long-term shit, okay? So something like a meditation retreat where it's like an extended stay in a more spiritual environment or whatever, where like, I know many people who go to those and it's like, they don't talk for days on end. It's a full-blown meditation retreat.
10 days.
Yes.
Speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like a fast, right? Which, you know, check with your doctor or whatever. But like, these are spiritual in nature. That one's, I guess, more religious often. Vision quests tend to be these longer term things. Like a vision quest can even be like an ayahuasca ceremony where it's like you're going for multiple days at a time. Yeah, it's drug related, which I'm going to talk about, but it is a longer emphasis on it, and you're doing it to create long-lasting change, right? You're doing it to fundamentally alter things, not just get a quick fix. Pilgrimages, journaling as a practice over time. It's not you're not getting a quick fix out of like fucking journaling. Maybe cool, good for you if you'd like get your emotions out in 3 minutes writing on a page, but like, this is a practice. Rites of passage. This one I thought was cool. And life cycle ceremonies, meaning like even having those milestones, rituals of like a quinceañera.
Yeah.
You look forward to that into the future, right? As a parent, you look forward to your future child having that or something, right? So things like that are big. And then also days of rest. I thought that was actually really cool. And it's something like a lot of Christians can even, you know, relate to. It's like Sunday, we should
doing that anymore though.
Nobody's just resting, period, dude. It's just not happening. Yeah. As I'm like, how many weeks in a row am I like, I pulled another all-nighter again? God, Ryan, like sleep, hello, rest. Like I'm always short-term thinking, I feel like, in this sense. So those are like some good long-term thoughts. Think of some other ones, you know. Short-term ones, thought was really interesting. Manifestation culture. Law of attraction culture. It is like, I want this. Like when you need something, I'm going to do a manifestation, you know, like you just think of it in the moment. You're not manifesting for like 20 years from now, typically.
I will, you know, when people, like, because I do deal with manifestation, but I'm like, think about, like, think about the long-term implications of, like, because one of my first teachers, she was incredibly powerful, but she was like, I want, she was like, I want $128,000 right now. And kind of said it jokingly. Well, the next week, her fucking dad died. Now, I'm not saying, and guess how much the life insurance policy was for? And at that point, $128,000 was deposited into her account. And she was like, okay, well, now, she didn't cause her dad to die by any, means, but it makes you think, like, okay, you want this, other things, you're not, if you want to bring something into your life, other things have to move around. So your life can't be the same if you're bringing something in. Things have to be shuffled. Something might have to go. It's a law of polarity. It's how things move. So, but everyone's me, now, claim it to be. Are you even ready to sustain? Say you want all that money? Do you have the discipline? You can't be bothered to go on a fucking walk and drink water, but you think you're going to have the discipline for millions of dollars? Give me a fucking break. That's what happens with people in the lottery.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, if you're going to do manifestation practices, what are you doing to ensure that there's that longevity to it, right? And it's not just those quick fucking fixes. I understand if you need the quick fix sometimes. That just needs to happen. You know what I mean? You're like, shit, I need like a little thing.
And I
like,
teach it like I'm big into law of assumption. Yeah. But know what you're getting into. So yeah.
And this next example, like, I think is a little controversial, but it's not like leaving an offering for the gods, but even like ancestors, like just leaving, I'm going to go leave some fucking milk and cookies for Santa, that type of thing. But that is very like cultural in many cases, like leaving an offering for an ancestors or having an altar or something like that. A lot of people have that. But if that's all you're fucking doing, if that's your spiritual crux, like, do something more.
Here's a carrot, thanks.
Exactly. Or just quickly lighting a candle and saying a prayer, right? What? Spiritual apps, I thought, was a really interesting one. Like, 'cause like, I'm just gonna quickly do a 20-minute, mindfulness meditation on Headspace app. Like, if that's your routine, problem. If you need it in the moment because you're having a really crazy day and you do need that 20 minutes or whatever, cool, fine, great. But it can't be your end all be all. Same with like new age materialism and over reliance on spiritual tools, which would be like, if you just wake up every day and pull a fucking one tarot card and then go about the rest of your day and you don't even,
what? I just had a conversation with one of my clients, and because I referred him to Karina and he was like, well, now I'm going to, and he had a great experience, but he was like, but now I'm going to, and I was like, no, you keep outsourcing your whole, and even to like, I refuse to ask questions or answer questions. I was like, you're not going to go to another practitioner, but you want to be a leader in this space, but you can't even sit with yourself. And he was like, no. So this whole month, his homework is, he has to every question he can't ask me. He can't ask anyone. If I hear he's booked a session, he's in deep shit with me. You want to be a leader, but you're not willing to trust yourself. And he was so irate with
which
me.
Is different than like taking a class from someone else, which is again a longer term investment to like grow your knowledge or whatever. But if you're just booking these quick fix things, or like people who sit on TikTok and just like watch those people like, just like turn over a yes or no card. It's like a magic 8-ball question. Like, what the fuck? Like, that is so instant and nothing.
Karina just posted this and I screenshotted it. I know you miss me. The troll lady on TikTok told me.
Oh my God, I'm dead. I fucking love that. That's actually brilliant. I love that. I know you miss me. Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, you miss me.
The troll lady.
Funny.
Stop. Oh my God. Or like, like a pendulum. If you have these little fucking tools and that's all you're fucking using just to like get a quick answer, stop it. What are you actually doing? Nothing. Exactly. And then I put drugs in this category because I actually think a lot of people aren't using them the right way, right? Like, I think a lot of people want a quick fix, a quick high, a quick spiritual insight. Thank you, shrooms. Thank you, peyote, or whatever the fuck. That's a misuse of these like very sacred things. So those are some things I you can actually do and work on right now. Because I know a lot of this feels bigger than us. Like it's 7 generations into the future. What the fuck am I supposed to do about that? What you can do right now is focus on your long-term and short-term mentality in general. And it will go from there. It will go from there.
Just be the best person you can be. Be a good person, and like do what you need. Like, you're not an animal. Okay. You know what you should be doing. You know what is good and what is bad. And you're going to make mistakes. But if you're like, oh, this is, if someone finds out about this, super shitty, so I'm going to be in big trouble. I'm going to prison. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Although interesting point too, like saying like you are not an animal, but it's also like, but we shouldn't think of ourselves as like too much more important than other life. But at the same time, we aren't animals. And a huge thing of this, I should have actually put this like right up top, is like why this is important is that this is a unique function of humans. Our ability to even have foresight, to have future planning capabilities is uniquely human. It is so rare that you're going to find anything else in this living world that actually can do this. So like we have this very unique capability, signature to us. Why are we using it like in a better way? Why aren't we using it? I have all I want to end on is a quote that is like honestly so beautiful. I saved a billion quotes, but like this one, I think it's perfect. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think this is quite good.
This is a quote from, I'll link it below, but it's a quote from this book called Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth, which is a collection of essays. But this quote, stunning because it's definitely about humanity, but it ties humanity to the 4 elements, which is, astrological, natural, etc. It's making us interconnected with everything, right? This is so beautiful. Okay, it says, like the earth, let us help and share the burden of all. Like the water, let us flow untethered and quench the deepest thirst. Like fire, let us eliminate the unnecessary and unimportant. Like air, let us silently become a lifeline for all. I fucking love that. I think that's fucking stunning. Stunning. Yeah. I had actually never even thought of air in that way, like the silent nature of it. And it's a lifeline. It's a silent lifeline for everybody. Most of those I never really thought of. Like fire does eliminate the unnecessary and the unimportant. Like sticks to what fucking matters. So anyway, love that. Did you enjoy this topic? I know it's a random one, but I just had so much to it. And I wanted to talk about because we have been a little bit more like political leaning and current event leaning lately. And I'm like, this to me ties a lot of this stuff together. I think it really makes it make more sense from a spiritual perspective too. Like, why is this fucking important? Why should you pay attention to current events? Why should you fucking participate as a human right now?
And if you remember, if you're like, ooh, if you feel triggered, then that's an indication for you to look deep within your guts and figure out why. Because if you're feeling triggered, then you probably up to a little no good somewhere, and that's okay. Because also, when you are triggered, your emotions are intensified up to 10 times, and then you are also only viewing the topic through the lens of the trigger and not through the lens of any sort of rationality or commonality.
This is 100% true. 100% true. And I actually had a whole fucking thing here too, which is funny based off what we talked about last couple of weeks, really, about emotional regulation and how that is another big reason because of our emotional tie to things. That is why we also will act in such short-term ways instead of thinking in a long-term way, because we're so emotionally tied to everything that's going on in our immediate moment. It's crazy. Again, that's where the deep space, deep time stuff comes into perspective too. We detach all of a sudden from those emotions and we can actually make more coherent decisions in a long-term sense. I think this stuff is cool. You guys have a billion resources. I think there were tons of topics in here. If you're interested in any of them, highly recommend you just go down a rabbit hole and explore. There's so much out there. Hopefully this gave you something to ponder differently. Yeah. We'll be on our freak shit with some weird spiritual topics after this, but thank you for indulging.
And as always, listeners, please like, review, subscribe, leave a positive review. And to everyone who left nice reviews about my laugh, thanks. You're swell too. Yeah.
You're swell. Thanks.